Leaders, real life leaders.
Let your yes be yes and your no be
Yeah.
no. You said yes, I'm coming. Ghosted.
So I paid for it.
I paid for it, and here's your bill.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I mean, come on.
Next.
Hey guys, welcome to the Real Life Leadership Podcast, where we share real life stories from real life leaders to make you a better leader. And we are so excited. We have Thomas Lane from Ascent Church,
Yeah.
who is an amazing leader, and my co-host, Heather Remick, who is
Hello.
also an amazing, amazing leader. So today we are talking about let your yes be yes and your no be no. When I say that, what do you think of?
I think it's confusing. At first, I'm like, wait, what did she say? Yes, but yes. I think what I hear is just get to the point. You know what I mean? Just don't rattle on. Don't make a lot of excuses. Just own it. If it's a yes, give me a yes. If it's no, if it's a no. You don't have to go into this. Yes, but no, but just say it. Get to the point.
What do you think of when I say that, Heather?
Well, it's one of our core values, so it's really
Yes.
important to us.
Yes, it
but
is.
you need to own your decision. So,
Ooh, I
like
like that.
one of the things that drives me and everyone else crazy is when someone says, like even if it's like a kid's birthday party, like, can you come to the birthday party? And they're like, yes, and then they just never show up.
Oh, it's obnoxious. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Well,
like,
and especially when you have to pay like
Yes.
$30. Did you hear about that story? Oh my gosh, this is a good story.
Here we go.
There's this lady who, she had a wedding and
Yes.
she was paying $100 per person. And she said, I think I'm making up these numbers because I don't remember them, but it was something like, you can actually Google it. I think it was like 45 guests did not show up. So in her mind, that's $4,500.
Oh,
So
yeah.
what she did is she sent out a bill for like if you are a couple, she sent you a bill for $200, and she said
great.
basically,
That's great.
let your yes be yes and your
Yeah.
no be
Yeah.
no. You said yes, I'm coming. Ghosted.
So I paid for it.
I
Yeah.
paid for it, and here's your bill.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Come on.
Next.
I want to know
Thank
if they
you.
responded,
Next.
if they sent her a check. I want to know. I'm going to look it up.
I
That's
doubt
fascinating.
anybody would have written her a check.
Sorry.
But maybe they would have sent a
True.
gift.
Yeah.
Maybe like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Here's
Yeah.
a $200 gift or.
That's crazy.
But I mean, that made national news when she did it.
for
But
her. She
was mad.
that's a perfect example of let your yes be
Yes.
yes, because it causes a rippling effect because you didn't say what you were going to do. Now I'm out $4,800, and that's really not fair to her.
Not at all.
So can you tell a story about when this has happened to you?
Oh, goodness. All the time. So
So
the year
make it as
before
specific as possible.
The year before we opened, you're building a launch team, you're recruiting people. One that comes to mind is we probably had 8 or 10 people who said, I'm on the launch team. I'll do it. I'm in. Whatever you need, I'm there. Never showed up again. Didn't come to a meeting. I've had people who've never come to the church who looked me in the eye and said, whatever you need, I'm here for you. You got it. I want to give. I want to serve. Never showed up. Yeah, and it's awkward. It's a little weird because you see them around and it's just like, did I do something? Like what changed?
Yeah.
One, you want me to be specific. One guy, great dude, good friend, and that's what's even weirder. He was a friend. He said, "Hey, I'll pull the trailer. We have a 24-foot trailer with literally everything we own is in the trailer. Everything is in the trailer." He said, I'll pull it as long as you need. So 1 week he came in, he pulled the trailer up, we unloaded it. Right before I go to preach, he's like, "Yeah, I don't think I can do this anymore." I said, "Well, we'll talk about it. Maybe your schedule's too much. Maybe you need to do it once a month, but let's talk about it."
And right before you preach at that.
Right before, of all times, So service ends. He definitely ignored me, avoided me after service, left immediately, dropped the trailer off, and we never heard from him again. Never saw him again. We were calling him, texting him, Facebook message, didn't respond. And then within a few months, his family, I think he was Coast Guard, they went up to Alaska. Never, I don't know if
So-
something happened. He just completely
So
disappeared.
what if you had to redo that? Like that whole scenario.
Yes.
Okay, here's a leader who's hearing that.
Yeah.
How could you have prevented it from being a bigger fallout? Because that was a big role and
Oh.
it left a big
Mission
hole.
critical.
So if you had to look at that again, what would you do differently?
I would have done a lot of things differently. I don't know if he didn't see how important it was. I don't know if he thought, "Oh, I'm just moving the trailer." I don't think he realized if I don't do this, we literally can't have church. You know what I mean? I don't know if he understood the importance of it. I don't know if he understood there wasn't a backup. I don't know if he got the vision behind it. I think we did a lot of things wrong. I don't think I worked quickly enough to get him some backups. Maybe it was too much on him, and he's like, oh, it's fine. I can keep doing this. But in his head, he's thinking, this is too much work. I can't do this every week. So I think there was a lot of things looking back, which I did wrong. Right now, we have 4 guys who rotate and pull it. It's a lot healthier, and no one's ghosted us since. So I think maybe that's a better setup.
That's the biggest thing when you're dealing with volunteers that I tell people. What I used to do is I'd say, would you be willing to work in the children's ministry for 1 week?
There you go.
If after that 1 week, that's all your commitment is, you won't have to ever do it again, but I'd like you to try it just to see if you enjoy it. And so for me, listening to that story, I would say the 3 things I would have done is after the first week, ask him, do you like it?
How was it? Is that what you expected?
Yes.
Because maybe
Is
it was
this
completely different from what he was envisioning.
Right. Maybe he was like, and
I think
number
that's what it
2,
was.
how long of a commitment do you want to make to doing this? Can you do a 4-week commitment?
That's really smart.
Because then he could have said it. Because truthfully, in his defense, his yes was yes and his no was no, because he never made a commitment like, I'm going to be here every week
I'm
for
gonna
the
sign up
rest of my life.
And in the church world, it's almost like a life sentence. It's almost like, oh, are you serving? You're going to serve here till you die or until you leave the church.
And that's why it's really important to make end dates. I know a couple people, like I know a perfect example of someone actually who's going to our church who he was at the Wave Church and he was in security, and he literally just felt like he never got a break. Every week he was always on. He'd been doing it. He was there every single week for 3 years straight, and he didn't feel like he could take a break. So guess what he did? He just left.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think mentally people quit before they actually leave. And I think it's on us as leaders to ask those questions. Are you good? Do you need a break? Because a lot of men in particular, I'm fine, good, I'm tough. And we really have to dig. Like, are you sitting with your wife? Are you going to church? Are you okay? And I think sometimes people get so excited about the mission or the vision, they put that aside. But I mean, Jesus rested all the time. He got up early to spend time alone with God. He didn't heal everyone. He went off to do this. He showed us that isolation is important, rest is important, that one time with God is important. And I think if we don't model that in our leadership, if our team doesn't do that, it's just a matter of time before they burn out.
And one thing we did was we said, hey, we want to give our regular volunteers a break for 1 month. Would anyone like to volunteer for just 1 month to give our regular folks a break? And we had huge response from that, because again, the lower the level of commitment of entry, the higher number of people that are going to raise their hand to say, hey, me.
There's a church consultant. His name's Kerry Newhoff. He's a pastor, and he does a lot of church leadership. He always says, if you give people if you give people an out, they'll often lean in. Exactly what you're saying. If you say it's 4 weeks, they're like, okay, I'll do that. And then probably 90% of them do it. And they're like, oh, I can do this. But if you say, can you do it for a year? Can you do it for the rest of your life? You don't want to even commit. So give people a way out where it's not awkward to say, hey, I did it for 4 weeks. It wasn't for me. I think that's super effective. We don't really do that. For us right now, we don't. It's just kind of you serve until you're ready to stop. But I think it's healthy to have exits.
So what's the number one reason when you feel like you tell people, hey, can you do this, and they don't do it? What are the excuses they give you?
They're too busy. They didn't realize what it involved. It wasn't for them. They weren't as good as it as they thought they would. I really think busyness is probably the main one.
I think
people
that's the number one
overcommit like
excuse.
crazy.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think we want to hurt anyone's feelings. I think people like you, want to impress you, want to be like Mrs. Reliable. And so they're like, yeah, I can do that. And then when they sit down, they're like, wait, I'm not sleeping enough as it is. I don't see my kids enough as it is. I think we just overcommit.
Yeah, people are natural people pleasers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so they're afraid they're going to disappoint if they say,
Totally.
no, I'm just sorry, I don't have enough time for that right now. Even as employees. So when we say, okay, can you do this? Can you do this? They're, yes, absolutely. Sure. Yep, add it to my list.
They
No
want to
problem.
be the go-to person.
Yeah, like obviously you want to be like, oh, yeah, I'll do everything. And you can't do everything.
No.
It's just not possible.
No.
And you have to be upfront to like, what we've done, we figured that out. So we would be like, what are you going to do? And they're like, I'm going to do it. And we're like, okay, yay. And so then they come back and we're like, what'd you do? They're like, oh, I got one of them done. We're like, one of the 20? Like, okay, that's what'd you do all week? So what we realized was that's too overwhelming.
Yeah.
People can't do, like, just like you're talking in the volunteer world.
No.
So we have people commit to 3 things that they're
cool.
going to do. I don't care if it snows, your kid gets the flu, the plague drops
excuses.
over your house. These 3 items will get done this week. And that's much easier for them too. Okay, I have to focus on these 3 items. Yeah, I'm going to get a lot of other things thrown at me. That's life. But these 3 things are going to get done. And we found that people can manage 3 items and instead of, they're going to get a lot more.
Sure.
But these 3 are priority this week. We're going to get these 3 things done. And that's how we kind of move up.
So I have.
Smart.
You can put me as a quote for this.
There we go.
Here we go. What I like to say is when I say let your yes be yes and your no be no, what that means to me is I would rather you disappoint me now than disappoint me later.
Yeah, it's true.
That's it.
It's true.
Okay.
That's true.
Isn't that true? Because
that's why they don't want to
that's
disappoint
the
you.
worst
Yeah.
thing that you can do. I'd much rather you disappoint me now. I'll get somebody else to
And the
do it.
disappointment's greater
It's
the longer
so
you wait.
much
There's a
greater.
little
Yeah.
disappointment if they're like, I can't fit that.
Yes.
But if they say, I got your back, it's going to be done by Friday.
Yeah.
There's a ton more Friday 5 like I didn't get around to that. Like
Yeah.
that's way worse.
And the
I think it's a
disappointment
people-pleasing
is
thing. It really is.
so, I would say it's 10 times greater.
Oh, yeah.
Or more.
Easily, yeah.
Yeah. So, I want to give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
This is, so Kendra Wilkinson, I know you don't know who she is because she is a just even if you
Okay.
know who she is,
I have no idea.
pretend like
Yes.
you don't because
Yeah.
you're a pastor.
Yeah.
You shouldn't know. Anyway, she's drop dead gorgeous, huge boobs, skinny
gosh.
body,
go.
absolutely like amazing, right? She was Hugh Hefner's, one of his 3 top girlfriends. And they did a show called, what was it? Girl Next Door.
Yes,
Girl Next Door.
That's what it was.
So anyway, she spinned off and did her own show. And I wish to God, Kendra Wilkinson, if you're listening to this, I need the clip of this, okay? So someone's got to get me this clip, okay? It was the best clip. What she did was, she had an assistant. And she gets so mad at her assistant. And she goes, this is ridiculous. She goes, I feel like I'm your assistant. I'm constantly reminding you of what you should do. You're my assistant. You should be saying, but every day I'm going, did you do this? Did you do this?
Sure.
Did you do this? Did you do this? She's like, I'm sick of doing that. Let me remind you one more time. You're my assistant. I'm not yours. And I literally have that conversation all the time with people because I say, if you completed whatever it was, like if this is important to me, I shouldn't come to you and say,
No.
did you do that? You should have already sent an email to me because I have this many things in my brain. If you can take that out of my brain, my life becomes
yes.
so much easier.
Yeah.
Yes.
So do you have any examples of that and how to... My solution is just to tell the Kendra story.
Yeah.
And I tell it all the time. But what's another way that it's probably a way better way to instill that than that story? I don't know. What do you think is a good way to get that across to people?
I have a phone call they actually called me before we started having that same conversation. It happens all the time. And I think in both of our worlds, there's so much going on and it never stops. I think it makes it harder. I don't know. I have a temper. Most people don't think I do. You can see that a little maybe in preaching when I get excited. So honestly, I used to just do it immediately. I have to write it down. I literally, when I'm angry at something, I literally have an app. It's in, I guess, notes on my phone. I write down every thought, and then I come back in a few hours, and I'm like, okay, that's really rude. Like a pastor shouldn't say that. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, I shouldn't say that. Like a good friend shouldn't say that. A leader shouldn't say that. But really, for me, I got to cool off. But that's just me. I don't think everyone has a temper. But I have to. I'm like, man, I was going to say that. For me, I have to chill. I have to take a deep breath. A lot of my team is young. They've never had like a real job, real big boy, big girl job. So I have to realize, hey, when I was that age, I did things like that too. I got to take a breath, try to relate to them a little more. I don't know a better way to communicate it, but sometimes it feels like that. If I give you 3 assignments and then I'm constantly being like, hey, did you finish those? Hey, can I help you with those? Hey, has that been done yet? Then like that's still like mentally, I need to be able to unload that.
Yes.
And be like, I don't have to think about this. I don't have to worry about this. But mentally, if I know deep down it's not going to get done unless I remind you, it's almost like, what's the point?
Right.
I could have just probably done it faster. Yeah. I don't know how to communicate that with grace. Right now, that's what I'm doing. Just trying to slow down, give the benefit of the doubt. What are some of your thoughts?
Well, I think that, and we have this happen a lot. Like, there's an example that we had recently where Chantel had asked someone to do something and she was on vacation. And so they did it. They took care of it, but they didn't want to bother her while she was on vacation. And so she ended up, while she's on vacation, because her brain doesn't stop, that she said, hey, was this done? And they were like, oh yeah, this was done, but I didn't want to bother you when you're on vacation. I was just going to tell you when you were back. And she told them, she said, it's okay. It doesn't matter if it's 2 a.m., whenever. Email me and just say, hey, this was done. I'll complete it, because I'm able to then empty that out of my brain. And especially just communicating that with the people that work under you to say, look, as a leader of this organization, I have lots of things in my head, ideas, and if you can take one less out, they don't realize it. They have no idea, because they're thinking, oh, it's past, 5 o'clock. I don't want to bother her. She's at home with her family. Well, no, she's still going. Like, people they don't realize that at 5 o'clock, it just doesn't stop. Mm-hmm. And that if they can just, and just communicating them and saying, listen, I want you to know, I don't care if it's at 8 o'clock at night. I don't care if it's whenever. If you finish something, just shoot me an email. It's fine. I'm not going to, if I'm at family time, I'm not going to look at it. But at least it's one thing I can check off my list. Yes. And just explaining that to them, because I think a lot of people just don't realize it. They don't want to bother you, or they forget. Right. But just reminding them how important that is, I think, is really important. And having that conversation she had was important.
A couple of our employees at the end of the day, not everyone, because we have some people that are just have kind of gotten past that, but especially for the first 6 months they start with us, and some people who just, it really works for their personality style. And it's great really for everyone. But what we have them do is called an end of day report that just says, hey, just so you know, you asked me to do 1, 2, 3. Here's the update, blah, blah, blah. Here's what I accomplished today, and here's what I've gotten done. And that really, for people who are a little scattered, a little ADD, if you say this has got to be done every day, that's one idea I have. The second one that we did was we created these teams where we played Team A against Team B. Heather, tell them about that.
Yeah, so we kind of wanted to make it like a fun competition. And it's funny because this goes a little off topic, but knowing what makes your employees happy. So we were going to buy them lunch. And really what they wanted was a day to work on a project that advanced the company, which was like so awesome.
When we found out that, we were like, oh my God, we have the right people on the bus.
Yeah, absolutely.
They'd rather spend a day working on something to advance the company than us buying a lunch. We're like,
side
oh my gosh.
note, awesome people.
Yeah, we've got really great people here.
Keepers.
But what we've done is they commit as a team. And they commit to these tasks, and these are above and beyond their regular stuff. So like these are what we're gonna do, like to try to win. And so they have these tasks, and we put them up on the wall. So we have like dry erase boards on our walls, and we write them up there so they can see them. And then they've even made this cute little thermometer now, so like I can see like they can watch each other, team versus team. Cool. So like right now we have the media team versus the web team, and they've made names and logos, and so they really get into it.
They spent $60 on creating their own shirts. For
but it
their
bonded
team.
them together. And so now, they rely on, I even go over there and tell them, I'm like, listen, I want you guys to succeed. So if I have to come in and like help with a project, I'm going to help. Like I want your teams to win.
Love that.
And then it's a teamwork. So now they're all in it together.
That's
and
huge.
they help jump on each other's backs so that they're committing to doing these things this week, and they're going to get them done.
That says something about the team
So
too.
do you have anyone that you work with that you feel like every week you just are just so frustrated because they said they were going to do this and they didn't? Next week they said they were going to, they're just not getting it done.
I got to be careful. They may be listening to the podcast.
So what are some ideas to get those people? We've got those 2 ideas. Any others to get them to engage and say, okay, this is what we're going to do?
You guys mentioned Dave Ramsey at some point. It may have been a different podcast, but Dave's biggest question in the world of business, like entree leadership stuff, is how do you motivate people? How do you motivate people? He says, I hire motivated people. I love that because it sounds like your team's super motivated. It's not like you're telling me they're lazy, I don't know what to do. Like they're moving.
Hold on. So before we create, I want to be really transparent.
Yeah.
So before we created those 2 teams, team against team, we were feeling like I'll tell you the number one excuse that we get of why they can't get that done. So what they say is, we'll start on Monday, and these are our 3 top priorities. But things come up during the week that may be a little bit more of a priority than that. And so the excuse they'll make, even though there's no reason why they still couldn't have got 1, 2, and 3 done, is they'll say, yeah, you had me do A, B, and C, but the problem is you also gave me E, F, and G, which truthfully, the E, F, and G shouldn't have deviated them that much.
Sure.
They still should have been able to do A, B, and C. But how do you respond to that?
I think it's a problem of priorities personally. I don't know if I think a way I struggle is maybe I don't make it clear, hey, this is priority 1, meaning do this now. Don't let anything get in the way. Like they say, eat your frog. You know what I'm saying? Like do this thing first. When Monday hits, Monday morning, because obviously our week starts on Sunday. Monday, you're in the office. I want you to do this now. I think what gets coached, what gets measured, gets improved. I think we have to constantly, at least in the beginning, constantly monitor and show this is valuable, this is important. I think the worst thing I could do is say, hey, would you be able to do this, and not follow up? You know what I'm saying? Because that shows to me, that shows to my team, it doesn't matter. It doesn't care. I think giving clear feedback, I think showing how it ties into the bigger picture. I think some people miss that at first. I think some people think, what is this Facebook It's a Facebook post. Okay, it was a day late. Who cares? You know, I think people think deep down, who cares if I didn't send an email out? You know, I'll send it Friday. But it's like, guys, look, no. Baptism was Sunday. If the link's not up Friday, people can't, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Stuff like that. I think it's our job to make people see this is how this ties into the big picture. And people need to understand, if you're asking them to do something, it automatically should come to the top. I don't like to play that card. I'm the boss. Do this now. But the reality is, if you're asking someone, I had to explain this the other day. I said, guys, I'm not trying to play this card. If the boss calls you out of the blue and says, I need you to do X,
It goes to the top of the list.
I don't want you to have to pull your car over and do it on the side of 264, but it needs to be a priority. Because 1, I shouldn't have to ask you. But if I am, you need to do it immediately. I think I'm a little too nice sometimes. I have a weird role where I'm the boss and CEO, but I'm also friend. I'm also pastor. I'm also maybe mentor. And so I don't know if some people are saying, is he being a coach right now? Or is he being the pastor right now? Or is he being the boss? I think sometimes I have to be very clear. This is the role I'm taking now, and I need you to do it immediately.
Well, I think that if you can somehow tie it into their scorecard and any
really
kind
good.
of bonus. So number 1, I truly believe, and we've talked about this, I believe every single person should have a scorecard so they do know what winning looks like.
Good.
But not only that, they should also, if you can come up with some kind of bonus metric, and it could literally be as cheap as at the end of the month, you get lunch, and you get lunch or you don't, because then you're tracking, hey, who's doing it? If you can pull up those songs, this is one of the things we do.
Yeah, bring them out.
So,
one of the things Chantel says too, I'm going to bring out the songs, but one of the things that she says is what's rewarded is repeated.
Yes.
And
Completely agree with that.
What you reward is repeated. So on our team site, we like to make songs. So we have these songs. So do you want to talk about your...
Yeah, you play it. So if you're doing good and you've got a scorecard, so everything's based on 1 to 5. So 4 or higher, you're doing great. And you're going to get this song. And we all stand and we all cheer. But if you've got a 3 or below, we're playing this song, which says, I don't want no mediocre, is exactly what it says.
Hold on.
That's an important song. We need to get up.
So basically what the song says is, I don't want no mediocre. I don't want no mediocre. And that's what we're saying. If your scorecard's at 3 or below, that's not what we're looking for. We want high level people that are going to move us forward in the game.
Totally.
And
There it is.
And we make it fun.
1 to 3.
So we make it fun.
Gotcha.
But I think we also need to have those kind of conversations with people where we say, hey, you're not winning.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's what, you have to do that.
hard.
I mean, it's not fun.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
But you have to.
Yeah.
Give us some examples now of things that you've had to say no to. So obviously everyone wants to meet with the pastor. So give us some examples where you've just had to say, what are the boundaries you've created for yourself, and how have you been able to do it in a way that's not offensive?
My favorite book is called Essentialism by Greg McKeown. It's awesome. It's so, so good. Essentially, it's about the disciplined pursuit of less, figuring out the things only you can do or the things you're best at and just nailing it. You know what I mean? Rather than doing 50 things, okay. But I make a list of things that I really have to protect. Preaching is a priority. When Monday morning hits, I have to write, because that has to be awesome. That can't be okay. When Sunday comes around, I can't be like, this was a decent sermon. I need to end the week thinking that was the absolute best I had this week. It's all I got. With practice, with prep, with prayer, praying over it. The second thing for me is the team. Got to love on the team, got to lead the team, got to make sure that culture's healthy, that they know what they're doing. So really, I build my calendar around those things, and everything else is extra. If I have time, I'd love to do a meeting. I'd love to do this and that. But I think you just have to say no. And people eventually learn, okay, like my team now gets that. Like if a counseling comes up, they can look at my calendar and say, he doesn't really have time. I can do this. We want to create a culture too of the pastor doesn't have to do everything, which is really healthy. I don't do that much counseling. And at first people say, you don't what? It's really not my gift. I'm not a good, I always say I'm not very pastoral, which is a weird thing to say, but I'm not a very timid, let's talk about it. That's not me.
Right.
So I try to, if people push back on that, I honestly say, look, I'm not a great counselor. You probably don't want to meet with me. You want to meet with, we have this team of 12 people. They're good listeners. They're good counselors. They can help you. I think having a clear why and letting people know we have all these burdens, we have all these expectations, having the team bought in with that too. Not, Chantel's too important for this. She's too busy. But letting her know she's being most effective in these 3 things. We're going to let her do that. Not she doesn't have time for you. Not she doesn't care about you, but she's most effective. The organization is best when she is doing these 5 things. So we're going to protect her time. I think if the team sees that and everyone rallies around it, everyone wins.
Yeah. I feel like I had a guy who I met with as a leader. I spent maybe 45 minutes with him. And then he said, hey, yeah, I'm going to take these steps forward. And then he just ghosted. I'd never heard back from him. And then he came back, 2 months later and was like, hey, I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. This happened. Can I set up another meeting with you? And I was like, okay. So he sent another email. And then he didn't do whatever he was supposed to. And then he kind of ghosted again. This last time he asked for a meeting. And I literally, this is what I did. I went to my assistant and I said, Allie, I need you to send an email. I need you to write up the sweetest email you possibly can. And this is what it said. Bottom line is, hey, I met you the first time you ghosted. I met you the second time you ghosted. Like, I'm unless you do A, B, C, and D, we're not really interested in you in this role anymore.
Sure.
And then instead of me having to take the time to have that in a meeting, that was an email conversation that I totally could have. Yeah. I spent all of 30 seconds to Allie saying, from my email, write this and send it to him, please. And that, how much time that saved me? Another 45 minutes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And there was just no reason for it. And I think a lot of times people are always so big on, we have to do face-to-face. We have to do face-to-face. What are some tips? Because for me, one of the things I do is a lot of times when someone's like, I kind of feel like I need to meet with them, but I might do a 5-minute phone call. I'll say, you know what I'd like to do is I'll do a 5-minute phone call. And then literally, not to be mean, you'll hear my secrets, but they'll might be talking, but I'm now sending an email or kind of multitasking while they're talking to me about something.
I love talking about this. I always ask people, if someone requests a meeting, I always ask what's the nature of it. I will not meet with someone. I will not have a conversation unless they tell me the subject matter, because most of it can be done in 5 minutes over the phone. I had a guy last week email say, hey, can we meet? And I just politely, either me or my assistant will say, with all due respect, what's the nature of the meeting? And I'm not trying to be selfish. The reality is,
you only have so many hours in the week.
Absolutely. I got to protect my family. I got to protect the organization. I got to protect my sanity. So, if it's a crisis, someone needs to jump on it now. If that's me or someone on the team. If it's, hey, maybe we could change up the songs.
Yeah.
What? Excuse me? So very nice dude said, I'd love to meet. And I said, can we talk about it? He wanted to offer his house as a backup space to do band rehearsal.
5-minute phone call.
we did over email. I said, thanks, man. We actually have 2 backups. We're good. He's all cool. But he meant well. So I never
Sure.
want people to feel like I'm too busy
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
But when people say it's about this, you usually take an hour to 5 minutes. And for me, it's more than an hour. It's driving there, you get coffee.
Yes.
You take an hour and a half down to 5 minutes. I've been amazed. When I started, I took every meeting. Someone wanted to meet. What's going on? What can I do? We just don't have the time.
No.
We just don't have the time.
And this is one of the nice, I have an email that I already have drafted.
Nice.
So because, if you get these requests over and over and over, we have emails that we have already drafted so we don't have to repeat them again.
Yeah.
And one of the emails, it's really funny because that's one of our, kind of our core missions is just to be really funny and do things in humor. But I literally say, if I literally took a meeting with every person that wanted to meet with me during the week, I wouldn't be able to do anything else but just do meetings.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's it.
So obviously, and then I say LOL. Yeah. So why don't you just shoot me an email about whatever it's about? And if I'm interested, I can let you know. And then I can literally glance through it, look at the email, and then move forward. Or if I think I might be interested, I say we've only have a 5-minute schedule.
Sure.
And I can't have
You have to
someone
set that expectation
up
too
front.
up the front. Yeah. So
Got to
that
have
they're
an
not-
end to
Yeah,
it
so
as
they
well.
don't
It's
think,
not
well,
an
that was rude.
open-ended.
Yeah, I thought I was
Exactly.
going to be there an hour and she only talked to me for 5 minutes. No, you let them know, hey, I have 5 minutes, stop by and let's go. Yeah.
Is there anything else that you can think of that you've had to say no to? That you've said, this has really kind of helped me. I used to say yes, 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 yes. I finally now just said, you know what? No, this is not something that I can put in my schedule, and it's freed my time up.
I did, I think, 14 weddings last year. So I'm the only ordained staff member currently. So they all fall to me. I did, I think, 14 weddings. I don't know, 2-3 funerals. And those
So
are
I'm
usually
going to
on the
stop you right
week-
there.
Oh, goodness.
So you can get ordained in 1 week.
Yes.
So literally,
Yes.
before you leave here, you need to go to every staff
Yeah,
member
you call
and be
the
like,
team and say, yeah.
by next week, I want every one of you ordained.
make sure
right?
Allie's
Because
ordained.
there you go. Because then that solves that problem.
It's a
right
rookie
there.
mistake. it was a total rookie move. Weddings. I said no to a wedding yesterday. Never done that before. It wasn't someone I knew. It was a friend of a friend, and I love to help. And it's a cool way because if you're asking for a pastor to do a wedding, it means you don't have a church. So it's
Yeah.
a cool way to love on somebody who doesn't have a
Right.
church. To
Yes.
be like, we have a church if you're interested. And if the couple doesn't have a church, most of their friends don't have the church either. Right. So to be able to love on and interact with 100, 200 people who are all without a church is a really cool opportunity, because a lot of people say, oh, he's a younger dude. He seemed fun. We've never been to church. Maybe we should try it. It's a cool outreach opportunity. It's a cool way to serve them. Weddings are one of those things. Yeah.
Drains you, though.
Oh, kills you. Because it's the whole weekend.
Yeah.
Because you work, I work Sunday,
Friday night.
Thursday. What's Friday? Rehearsal.
Right.
What's Saturday? Wedding. What's Sunday morning?
Church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it legit.
And you have to
don't-
think of those things
Oh,
that
yeah.
really drain your bucket.
It kills
Yeah.
me. Counseling drains me. It's just not my gift. Most people, I know some guys who are great counselors, but preaching they're a little awkward at. I'm the opposite.
Yeah.
I could talk to hundreds all day, but one-on-one, it literally sucks the life out of me. So saying no to that. I say yes to the gym. That's something I put it's on my calendar. I'm at the gym this hour, and my team can see it. They know about it and they respect it. But yeah, saying no to a lot of that stuff. What's great about a church plant or owning your own business is you really set the culture, and you can say things like, we don't do this. You know what I mean? And if I came into a church that was 50 years old and I took over and everyone said, well, the old pastor used to always do this. He used to do that. That's one of the reasons we wanted a plant.
Yes.
So we don't have to deal with that. So we can say, hey, this is what God's calling us to do. How can we do it? How can we set ourselves up to do this mission and not deal with all these expectations? But really having the staff on board to say, hey, he doesn't work here. He doesn't do meetings at night. He's with his family. He's at the gym now. We're not going to bother him while he's at the gym. That's super helpful. They shield me from a lot, which allows me to focus on other things. And I'm super thankful for that. But it comes down to they have to think like I think. They have to get me and help me be better so I can help them be better. It's a win across the board.
Sometimes you have to say no to people within your own organization.
Totally.
And so, sometimes you have people that, especially like as when you're leading larger groups of people, you have lots of people you have to meet with. And so like she said, sometimes certain people that you work with drain you. And so
Sure.
sometimes you have to say no to meeting with them. Yes. Like, no, actually, this person's going to be better at leading you.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm not going to meet with you anymore. This person's going to meet with you, because it's
Sure.
not good for me and it's not good for you.
Yeah, it's a
and
win
so,
across the
which is a
board.
weird one. You're like,
Yeah.
weird. Nope, I can't meet with you. But no, you have to put them in buckets where that person's going to be able to fill their bucket. They fill each other's buckets, and they're not draining each other's buckets, because that happens within organizations as well.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, that's so good. We need to do a whole show
Yeah.
on
Things
things
that-
that
fills your
fill your
bucket?
bucket and what drains your
Yes,
bucket.
yes.
Yeah, because one of the things I always say is that there are certain people that they literally have huge holes in their pitcher, and you could keep pouring in, and it's just
Oh,
coming
constantly.
right out.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have to find the person that plugs those holes,
Absolutely.
so that they can pour into them. Because everybody has somebody that can pour into them, and everybody has someone that drains them.
Yeah.
And you have to just create those boundaries and say no to those things. And it's weird at first,
Yeah.
but then it actually in the end creates such a better relationship and growth opportunities.
Yeah.
So.
Well, what I'd like to do right now is talk about any other follow-up systems that you have in place to really hold your team accountable. Or if you don't have them in place now, hey, this is an idea I just thought of. Like, this is something. We talked about the teams. We talked about, having them do an end-of-day report. Anything else that kind of goes, hey, this is how I know that I'm not going to stay frustrated, because
Right.
that is a terrible place to be when you're constantly like, they didn't do this, they didn't do this, they didn't do this, they
yeah.
didn't do this. And one day you just snap.
Absolutely.
You snap
Yeah.
because you're like, I am getting so frustrated. I told you to do this, and why aren't you doing it?
Right. I think checklist. When
Yeah.
anytime something frustrates us, we create a checklist for it. And we make it so when they submit it, you get an email and you're like, oh, that was done. That was done. Because then we don't have to ask about it anymore. And most of the time people aren't doing it because they don't remember. And so you're taking the frustration out of them because they know, they just like go down, check.
Yeah,
And
do
then
these
your
things.
frustration is gone because you got automatically told when it was happening
Boom.
and done. So
Is that an app you use? Is it a spread? Like, how do you,
You
where's
can-
the checklist on?
So we build everything like on our website.
Cool, yeah.
But the WordPress, so it's real
Okay.
simple. Yeah, so you
Sweet.
can just
And there's
you
so
can make
many
the
apps.
forms.
There's so
And
many apps
yeah.
that have the checklist that you can automatically go, okay, here's what
Yeah.
we're going to do, and these are things you're going to do every week. One thing that I did with one of my assistants at home, because we pay them weekly, and they have a checklist. It's so detailed, their checklist.
Oh, I bet,
you
yeah.
wouldn't even believe
Yeah.
how detailed
seen
it
it. I've seen it.
It's extraordinary detailed. So
bet.
if you say you don't know what winning looks like after
There's no
reading that,
question.
then it's like, okay. But inevitably, one of the things on the checklist, I'm just going to embarrass myself right now, that this is how detailed it is,
No shame in
is that, so like I like to put on my lip liner in the car and when I'm out and about. Well, I don't like to sharpen my lip liner pencils.
That's fine.
No shame in her game.
That's fine. No shame in the game.
No.
That's great.
So on there it says, go into the purse, pull out 4 liners,
go.
and sharpen them. Every day I like a very sharp eyeliner and I like a very sharp lip liner. And
so funny.
let me tell you how frugal I am. People don't think I'm frugal, but I am.
Oh
I
my
feel like
gosh.
God.
I'm telling this story.
Okay.
She literally
Let's hear it.
hands me 3 lip liners last week, and she's like, they're literally this. The cap is the same size as the lip liner. in
So I
it.
couldn't get the
She
cap
couldn't get out.
off.
She's like, Heather, can you please see if you can get these out for me, because I don't like. I need to use the rest of this
awesome.
lip liner. And I was like, this is going to take me more time to dig this lip
And
liner
it's
out
expensive lip
than
liner.
to just go to the store and buy one for you. But lip gloss. She's like digging it. Yesterday we're at lunch and she's like, oh, I got the last little drops here.
I
And
do
I'm
the
like,
same thing. It
I
drives
don't
my
like
wife
to
crazy.
be wasteful.
Yeah, it
She
drives
does
her
it.
crazy.
I don't
does
like
it.
to be wasteful. So now you got me all off track. What were we even talking
Who even
about?
knows?
about your very detailed checklist.
Oh,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
detailed
yeah.
checklist.
So anyway, so she's got to do these lip liners. Well, inevitably, like I'll go in the car, right? I'm putting on my lip liner, and it's like to the nugget. You know what I'm talking about? You don't know what I'm
You're like,
talking about.
yeah.
You know what I'm talking
Yes.
about.
I think I
But
do, yeah. I think my
I
wife
can't even
does
put
it,
it
yeah.
on because
Yeah.
it's like a pencil.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can't write with it. And I'm like I don't know why, but it infuriates me
Sure.
because I'm like, it's on the checklist every single day. It's
Yeah.
so spelled out. And I've reminded
Yeah.
you 100 times.
We don't
like,
have that. I need that.
Yeah.
My challenge is we've grown so fast, so quickly. Definitely every month.
checklist
Almost every
changes.
changes. It's a constant. Like our creative team, I think our guy added 10 people to the creative team this month. Maybe these last 2 weeks. It's just constantly. So leading a team of 2 is very different if your marketing team is 2 people and then in a month it's 10, so that's my thing. I need to be a little bit
Updating
more aggressive on keeping it updated, because obviously the way you lead 2 people is completely different than you need 10.
Yes.
So for me, it's not, I can't set it and forget it. I need to constantly look at the, first off, I don't have a checklist. It's a verbal checklist, but a verbal checklist
That's
is no
gotta be
checklist
fixed
at all.
right away, yeah.
Yeah, but it needs to be updated.
But you can get
probably
them
weekly.
to do it.
Sure.
So
Yeah,
you
that's a good
say,
idea.
hey, you start with it. You give me the platform. Let's me about it.
Yeah.
And now I'll tweak it. So one of the things I did with her, which I sat down with her and I'm saying this, listen, I really appreciate you and you're doing a great job at A, B, C, and D. However, these are some things that aren't getting done each week, and I don't want to keep reminding you. So here's what we're going to do. You're going to check them off, and every week you're going to make the choice of whether you're going to make, $12 an hour or you're going to make $13 an hour. Because if you miss anything on the checklist, you're going to make $12 an hour. If you don't, you're going to make $13 an hour.
Yeah.
Or you're going to say, hey, at the end of the week, if you get everything done, you're going to get a $10 bonus. And if you don't, you're going to miss that bonus.
Sure.
And here's the thing. If week after week you're not making the bonus, then we have to look at each other and go, are you the right fit?
Sure.
Because I need people in my life that I don't have to constantly remind. And here comes the Kendra story again.
There it is.
We have like a little stick. It's like, and it's Kendra.
You got to get Kendra in here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're wrapping up, but we want to tell you that we have a little bonus for you. We are going to do a hard conversation that Thomas Lane and Heather are going to talk about, and we're going to show how to make these commitments, but this is in a bonus episode.
Yes.
All right. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Real Life Leadership. If you'd like to get the show notes or access more resources, log on to reallifeleaders.com/podcast to get the show notes from this episode and any other resources we might have mentioned. And also, we'd love to hear from you. Be sure to review or rate this podcast on Apple Podcasts to help spread the word. And if you have any leadership questions you want answered, email podcast@reallifeleaders.com.